Um, oh, Welcome, everyone. This is the sixth program in our series on clean energy funding through UW-Madison Extension's Community Economic Development Program. I'm Sherry Bruder. I'm a Sustainable Design Specialist and Energy Strategist with UW Extension. And we have many sponsors of this program who've helped to put it together and have given their time to it, who I'll acknowledge at the end. Today, our program is on residential clean energy funding, so it affects all of us. And the program will look at the Federal Investment Reduction Act, fondly known as IRA, which actually is a $400 billion act that tries to move us to the clean energy economy. And the part of it that has to do with residential aims to boost clean energy, reduce carbon emissions, provide equitable distribution of the funding, so for environmental justice, and to catalyze domestic investments in clean energy technologies. So today, we're going to talk about IRA with our expert panel and also state funding that we have and about heat pumps. And this program is being recorded. The slides are going to be available to everyone along with a list of resources. So after the program, we are going to send you a link so that you can look up anything that you want from the program. And also we'll send you a evaluation. We really hope that you'll fill that out for us. Okay, so the IRA incentives are $43 billion of incentives that go to consumers to make energy efficient appliances, solar, batteries, geothermal heating, and electrical vehicles more affordable to consumers. And our expert panel today is Kevin Kane, who's the founding director and chief economist for Green Homeowners United, Dylan Cry, who's the residential program director for Focus on Energy, and Justin Margulies, who's the senior project developer or production developer with Slipstream. So with that, we're going to start the program with Kevin, who will talk about the funding available to you in IRA and great tips of how you can get it and maximize it. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Sherry. And thanks everyone for being here today. My name is Kevin Kane. I'm again chief economist at Green Homeowners United. We are a residential energy efficiency firm that specializes in trying to help people navigate the programs and the situations that are out there. How do you make your home energy efficient? Where do I start? What do I do? What programs, rebates, tax credits, fair financing are out there? It's our job to try to make this more possible for people. And so at Green Homeowners United, we're very excited about what's going on in the Inflation Reduction Act, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, all that sort of thing. The reason why is we at Green Homeowners United, we like science, and science has been telling us that according to climate experts, upgrading homes is a huge thing that we should be focusing on. According to a group called the National Resource Defense Council, residential energy efficiency is the #1 largest single source of CO2 reduction potential in the country. But when you add into effect that we're not even including things like electrifying homes, getting off of gas and propane, or solar panels for homes, we see that homes are one of the most important places we need to be cutting carbon emissions nationwide. So the good news is we actually have more research on Wisconsin too. A couple of years ago, Focus on Energy had a study presented, and from their study directly, the residential sector benefits the greatest from increased program funding. That means that we should be doing a lot more to incentivize residential. That's what this law is going to do. Therefore, increases in funding lead to a significant increase in the residential potential to help reduce carbon emissions and energy use. In fact, the single-family market in this study they showed, the single-family market natural gas savings potential is more than the commercial, governmental, agricultural, industrial, and multifamily combined. It is the largest single market that we should be, in theory, Well, I suppose we should need to work on all of them. But we here at Green Homeowners United are really going to focus a lot on the single family. And it has a higher electric savings potential than any other industry. This makes sense when almost 9 out of 10 buildings in this country are single family homes. We have to work on homes. We don't really have an option. But the good news is this law, the Inflation Reduction Act, is going to really push us on this. We here, as my shirt shows, we're proud green homeowners. We try to make people feel like they're part of something big, because it is. This is a gigantic investment and an opportunity to make a big impact in the country, your bills, and the world. And so what's the first thing we do about this? Well, we recommend something called an energy assessment, sometimes called an energy audit or an energy report. We're going to look at your insulation levels, identify air leaks, check mechanical efficiencies, check for solar feasibility, examine windows, and recommend strategies to fix them. We'll often use a special calibrated fan called a blower door. You can see a picture of it in the top right, to measure how drafty a home is, as well as to help show you where those leaks can be. We'll provide you a list of how much each improvement is expected to save you. And I would anticipate that in most cases, you would expect an energy assessment to be anywhere from $300 to $800. But they can also help unlock new special rebates and tax credits. And when I mean we, I mean the collective workforce doing this kind of work. There are energy assessors all over the place. And Focus on Energy has a great list that you can put your zip code in and find someone who fits this in most parts of the country or most parts of the state. Now, how does this pertain to the Inflation Reduction Act specifically? Well, if you get an energy assessment, you now, well, soon, can also receive rebates off the cost of the work thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act. For example, one of them is called the HOMES, H-O-M-E rebate, that says, if our energy assessment can show you how to reduce energy use by 20% or more, you can get $2,000 off, whatever that house needs to get it there. Or if the homeowner is below 80% of the median income in the area, they can get $4,000 off. But if we go deeper, if we do more than 20%, if we get a 35% reduction on your home, if we do even more on your house to help, you can get up to $4,000 off, or $8,000 if you're below a certain income. So again, we are not only incentivizing people to do right, but incentivizing them to go deeper, to have a bigger impact than they would otherwise have had. Now, what we know so far about the rebates, they may be retroactive, but they are not likely to be available until the end of the year, and probably more likely next year. They are expected to stack with rebates that are available today through Focus on Energy, as well as federal tax credits I'll get to. So while it may be retroactive, I wouldn't bank on that. So what you might see is an energy audit, an energy assessment looks something like this. This is a computer program that we know meets the rules for this, that'll show different improvements that you can do, expected dollar amounts that you might save from it, total energy costs, total energy savings, all that sort of thing. One of the things, though, that they're going to look for is this number here called total energy savings. And they're going to want to know that the collection of improvements recommended and pursued from the report achieves that 20% or more energy reduction. So this is an energy assessment that we did in the north side of Milwaukee. And they found out that lighting, thermostat changes, insulating the basement walls, insulating the attic, seal air leaks, would accomplish a 37% energy reduction on this particular house. But every house is a little bit different. So what have we learned? Well, we've put a lot of time into researching what would help get the house to below 20% energy reduction in general. What should be on our minds? What we found is that it's some combination of the following: air sealing and insulating the attic to make sure that energy isn't lost, unless it's already done. Replacing furnaces that are more than 25 years old and sealing and insulating the ductwork as needed. Replacing electric water heaters with heat pump water heaters. Adding rigid insulation to bare basement walls and rim joists. You could also use spray foam, but then you should probably cover it with a fire barrier. Drill and fill, also called dense packing, insulation in above ground walls of your home when there is nothing there now. Adding it when there is some isn't as cost effective. For those of you who are on fuel oil or electric or propane HVAC systems, switching to either a natural gas or ideally heat pump model can also help, as well as solar panels. They're likely, though, going to be some combination of the above. So it's usually not just going to be one thing, but we'll want to keep in mind, how do we attack this from multiple fronts? It is usually not windows on their own, air conditioners, doors, water heaters, light bulbs, or new appliances alone. These may be done in combination with things above, but in general, if you're looking to have an impact on your home and access to these rebates, it's probably one of the bullet points above. And for years, we like to joke that different programs have really incentivized home energy contractors like us to look at attics. The plus side is they're well-insulated attics. The downside is they kind of look like this. They're really well insulated on the top, not as much on the bottom. So we believe we'll save more money in energy covering up the bottom half. So I see a lot of bare basement walls. It's something that we encourage people to consider. Well, other people will say, wait a minute, I thought windows will help you save a ton of money on your heating bills. No, they won't, not on their own anyway. They'll save some, but let's look at this house here. This is a real house, real building that I saw in Milwaukee. And I love how they prioritize replacing the windows, let alone the walls. This window doesn't even fit in the window frame. So is this gonna save 50% on your heating bill? Probably not. Means we need to be looking at a lot of different ways to help these buildings. There's another rebate program though called the electrification or the HERO rebate. It is designed for us to help get off of natural gas and propane in favor of electric. You can make electricity green. You can't ever fully make gas green, although natural gas is better than coal. In this, many people will be eligible for up to $8,000 for a heat pump to replace an air conditioner. Imagine an air conditioner that can also heat the home too. Heat moves in both directions, cooling it or heating it. Up to $1,750 for a heat pump water heater. That's a picture of it in the top right. And as well as more for rewiring the home, electric heat pump dryers, electric ovens, and more. There's a bunch that is in here. It is not retroactive though. It will not be available likely until early 2024. And in many parts of the country, it's important to note that at today's electric versus gas costs, it could cost you more to have a heat pump than a good gas furnace, but it would use significantly less energy and it could run off renewable power. But please take with a grain of salt anything that you get in the mail that says you're going to save thousands and thousands of dollars with a heat pump. Some people maybe, but in many places on natural gas, maybe not. That doesn't mean it's not worth doing, but we want people to go in eyes open. Now, there are some income limits for these new rebates. You're going to see this term called AMI, area median income. And so it's based on how many people live in the home. If you make more than 150% of the area median income, then you can get up, excuse me, if you make below 150, you can get up to $8,000 or 50% off the cost of a heat pump covered. You can also get the insulation, air sealing homes rebates. If you make more than this 150% number, this heat pump rebate will not be there. This other one will be though. So this second one, the homes rebate, is not income limited. The heat pump one is. If you make less than 80% of the median income, in theory, up to 100% of the heat pump could be covered, up to $8,000, or up to $8,000 on the homes rebates for things like insulation, HVAC, and air sealing. Now, please note these amounts adjust annually, so we're going to wait to see when the program comes out, but this is a rough numbers that we were able to get from HUD. So while there is an income limit for the electrification rebate, there isn't for the home rebate. That's the important thing to note. Short version, get an energy assessment no matter how much you make. Because there is another benefit, the energy efficiency tax credit. There was a one-time minor tax credit for energy efficiency improvements, but it had a lifetime cap. It is now increased and been made an annual one. So for the next 10 years, 30% of what you pay for energy improvements, to a max of about $1,200 each year. You will get this every single year you do something in that year. So the exceptions are if it's a heat pump or heat pump water heater, then it is a separate $2,000 tax credit up to, I should say. So in theory, you can get $3,200 in tax credits if you do heat pumps, heat pump water heaters, and insulation or windows or something. Windows, furnaces, air conditioners, and boilers are now capped at $600 max per year out of that $1,200. So you could do like a combination of stuff, but you could never go more than $1,200 in a given year unless you're doing a heat pump. Insulation and air sealing materials can be $1,200 a year or 30%, whichever's lower, on these different areas. So it kind of encourages people to consider insulation, especially early on. As well as you can now get up to $150 federal tax credit to just for getting an energy assessment itself. So again, you have multiple years to do this, and every year it's worth doing something. So I'm going to give a few examples. Example one, a family of 4 who earns $60,000 gets an energy assessment of their home. The energy assessor shows that insulating in the attic and air sealing the home, insulating the basement, and upgrading the furnace would reduce the utility bills by 35%, or energy use, excuse me. They could get $8,000 off these improvements immediately from the Inflation Reduction Act, and between $1,350 and $2,025 off from Focus on Energy. Actually, it'd be more because I forgot about the furnace. Sorry, Dylan. They could get a new heat pump to replace the old air conditioner unit, $8,000 off. They could also qualify for a tax credit of $2,000 for the heat pump and up to $1,200 for insulation. So this is a lot that people can take advantage of to upgrade their home. Key is get an energy assessment. Because if a family of 2, let's say earns $90,000, decides to add insulation and install maybe just 5 windows, but didn't get an energy assessment, they would qualify for the up to $1,200 federal tax credit, but it would only be $600 if it was just the windows alone. So they wouldn't get any rebates in this case. They might get Focus, but usually Focus wants an energy assessment too. So another example, a homeowner earning $60,000 wants to replace 20 windows in their home. If she or he replaced 5 a year, give or take, they could get that $600 federal tax credit each year they did it. So if it took them 4 years to do it, they could get about, quite a fair amount off, 4 or 5 years, excuse me. If she or he replaced them all in 1 year and got an energy assessment showing doing so, as well as other improvements, could save 20% on their annual bills. They could get the rebate plus the tax credit. But again, that tax credit's capped each year. So in some cases, some people might be incentivized to do a few things every year and just do the windows over time. So there's kind of different ways to go about this. But there's also a lot for multifamily buildings. For example, an owner of a 6-unit multifamily building with tenants of not low income, good income tenants, and wants to replace the furnaces, insulate the attic and the basement to reduce utility bills by more than 35%, they would get $4,000 per unit in instant rebates, or $24,000 off. And if the apartment has more low or moderate income tenants, the rebate amount could then be as much as $8,000 per unit, or $48,000 total. Although it can't cover 100% of the cost, but it can cover a good chunk of it. So in light of all of this, what can you do to prepare? These rebates are not live yet. The tax credits are. So you have 10 years to use the $1,200 annual federal tax credit, figure out a plan to figure out what improvements you want to do each year. We recommend attic insulation and or a few windows this year so you can take advantage of the tax credit. And these things are unlikely to achieve a 20% reduction just on their own. So you're not missing out on the chance to use the rebate later. You can get an energy assessment to find out how your home can achieve a 20% energy reduction. Please note, though, that your assessor is going to have to use a specific kind of program, one that's been referred to as BPI 2400 approved, like Optimizer or SnugPro. Good news is a lot of energy assessors do. And by the way, don't upgrade now assuming you'll get the rebates later, but upgrading now isn't a bad thing. You can still likely use rebates on other improvements. 20% of a lower number is still possible. It's still something you can do, even if you do things now. So thanks to these funds, we're going to need armies of energy assessors to look at homes, because again, every home can get a tax credit now. We're going to need armies of insulation and air sealing professionals to seal homes and apartments. The home's rebates will mostly help insulation projects. And HVAC techs to install heat pumps, plumbers to replace electric or propane water heaters with heat pump water heaters, maybe gas ones too, because of the other HERA rebate and the federal tax credit. So we're going to need a lot of people doing this work. The last thing I want to share is rebates and tax credits are great, but they usually don't cover 100% of the cost of the improvements. Financing can help you spread the cost out of larger projects to do now when we really want to cut carbon emissions, and then the rebates and tax credits can make them more affordable. So again, this will be on following today. You'll be able to see these whole things. We're happy to go into it. But just know that there are a lot of options, including green mortgages, short-term interest rate things that might be 12 or 24 months, often at 0% interest financing, green home improvement loans, like a green home equity loan. And Wisconsin's exploring something called a green bank in the not-too-distant future. Governor Evers launched a commission on April 19th. So in the not-too-distant future, you'll be able to, in some cases now, think, what larger projects can I do, space out the cost over time, and get rebates and tax credits to make it affordable now. so that you can cut your emissions today, not 10 years from now. So we're really excited to do this. And if you ever want help in navigating these programs, please just reach out to us or listen to the wonderful people that are going to follow talking about what's going on in the state. I'll put my info in the chat.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. I just want to remind everyone, we do have a Q&A time during the program, so please put your questions in the chat, but we won't answer them until that time. So our next speaker is Dylan Cry, who's going to talk about the focus on energy incentives that you can get now and that complement the IRA funding.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, Dylan Cry, residential portfolio manager with Focus on Energy. So I'm going to say hi real quick. I lost my internet and I'm on a hotspot, so I'm actually going to take myself off video while I'm sharing, just so we don't have any hiccups there. So I'm going to cut that out, and there we go. All right. Yeah, so real quick, I'm going to introduce Focus on Energy for those who aren't familiar. We're going to touch on the IRA, a lot of the stuff that Kevin had already been talking about. I'm going to go back through some Focus on Energy programs that folks can take advantage of, and then also jump into a couple of key takeaways for today, and then I'll end up handing off to Justin. So Kevin, thank you very much. I always love hearing you talk. Kevin and Green Homeowners United are a Focus on Energy trade ally. We rely heavily on our trade allies at Focus on Energy. And so, yeah, always great to hear from you and what you have to say, invigorating to hear you speak. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. Ooh, let's see. There we go. All right, so real quick, Focus on Energy, for those who aren't familiar. We are Wisconsin Utilities statewide energy efficiency and renewable energy program. We were created in 2001, and we do represent 107 utilities across the state of Wisconsin. We are a ratepayer funded program, meaning that ratepayers of these participating utilities, electric and natural gas utilities, do pay into the program, so our benefits do need to go back to them. So that can make it somewhat difficult sometimes when we're dealing with customers on propane or fuel oil. But that is kind of in state statute that, you know, we do represent electric and natural gas utilities and those customers. So the IRA stuff is really interesting and kind of is an opportunity to address the full spectrum of customers in the state. But so that is Focus on Energy. A key benefit here is that we do deliver over $4 back to the state in benefits for every dollar invested. And actually in 2019, Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory did name Focus on Energy the most cost-effective program in the country. So we do represent or support residential and business customers. Okay, so real quick, flipping back to the Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA. So two things to know about IRA, too big, at least in the residential world. There are the tax credits, and then separately there are the home energy rebate programs. So I'm going to cover both those, but they are separate entities. So the tax credits. Sorry, it's kind of small on the left here. I tried to blow it up as big as I could. This is from the DOE's website. I've got the hyperlink here, so when you guys get the slides, you can check this page out. But it's a good summary of some of what Kevin was talking about. So we've got all of the equipment types and everything on the left here. The middle column is what the credits were last year. And so there was that $500 lifetime cap. That's been changed to an annual. And so the very right column, you can see what they are now and for the next 10 years. So all of these tax credits had been extended out to 2032, which is awesome. So that includes the solar, which is 30%. So that was a huge win for renewables. You'll see battery storage is in there as well. That now is a 30% tax credit. I will say battery storage is still almost prohibitively expensive. So if you've got the money and you're interested, that tax credit is now there. Sometimes it just makes more sense to put more solar on. So a couple other things here. So these are available now, and they have been since January 1st of this year. So that's great. This part of the IRA, the tax credits, everyone can take advantage of it if you have tax liability, and they're available now. Again, it's an annual cap now instead of a lifetime cap, which is awesome. There are some limitations. I think Kevin did a great job of illustrating some of those in his examples. There is this $1,200 cap on some items, like they're really tiny, but there's asterisks on a lot of these things. Those combined have a $1,200 per year cap. And so as Kevin was saying, like we do need to do some proper planning as a homeowner to figure out what's the best way to take advantage of these tax credits. So you're not missing out on things. Planning maybe projects over a few years. And then finally, these can stack with focus on energy and the federal home energy rebate program incentives. So that's a big key there. Okay, and now, so jumping over to the home energy rebate programs. Again, Kevin, thank you. Great examples of kind of how customers may be able to take advantage of this. I am going to share this from more of the federal state program government angle. So I've got a couple screen clips following here, but so these home energy rebate programs, they're from the DOE. They're actually going to be run through the State and Community Energy Programs Office. So if I say SCEP, that's what I'm referring to. I'll try to keep calling it the State and Community Energy Programs Office. And so that's actually going to go through the PSC of Wisconsin and state, the Office of Energy Innovation, which is Wisconsin State Energy Office. Those funds coming through Wisconsin. So it is nearly $150 million over the 10 years between the two programs. HOMES is the acronym for basically the efficiency program. And then HERA or HERP was another acronym for it, if, in case you see that. I think it actually shows up in the slides later. That's the electrification piece. And then just last month, the Public Service Commission did choose Focus on Energy as the program implementer for the home energy rebate programs. One key distinction here is that they ordered that the home energy rebate programs and the focus funds be tracked and managed separately. I think that's actually a good move, but it creates a bit of intricacy there. But it's great that we've kind of got an eye on both focus and how we can best integrate the home energy rebate programs. And again, these can be combined. These rebate programs can be combined with focus on energy rebates and the tax credits. So my next few slides here, I did clip all of these from the state and community energy programs. They had a few slide decks. I thought they were very helpful examples. They've got nice bright colors. Anyways, so on the bottom here, you can see the different types of properties that are going to be eligible. And it really is kind of the whole gamut of residential properties, which is awesome. And then up on the top is the different types of technologies. It's mostly shell stuff, right? The insulation in our attics and air sealing in the walls, everything. And then electrification is a big piece of this. So sharing that there. I thought this was a useful breakdown. So as we kind of spoke about the homes in HERA, it's also the efficiency and the electrification. And so on the left side, you're seeing, we're breaking it down by income. So we've got households with income above 80% AMI, households below is underneath that. And then the multifamily are the third and fourth rows there. And just a very high level of what are maybe the high level rebates available for a particular home. Between the efficiency and the electrification programs. I did put a red asterisk on this slide. The final Wisconsin program may differ from this. And so Kevin was sharing some useful examples. And I'm actually just going to jump to the next slide here too, because again, the eligibility per home, so the state energy office is going to basically submit a plan for how they would like these, how they think these programs should be set up. And part of that is going to be who is eligible, how our customers eligible. States can't be less restrictive. We can't say we want to allow everyone in at any income, but they can be more restrictive. So in this efficiency program, for example, that top one does say the law does not limit eligibility based on household income. But the state of Wisconsin could say, well, actually, we think that should match the electrification and potentially cap it at 150% AMI to make sure that we're helping the folks in most need. So there's a lot up in the air yet. So just sharing this here, right? You guys can get us a copy of this deck. I'm not going to walk through everything here, but there are some intricacies between the two programs. And then finally, a timeline, just to kind of, again, show that we're kind of in the middle of the process right now. If we're that yellow dot right there, going all the way back to earlier this year, the RFI went out. So the DOE requested information from the states and the tribes. That was due back to the DOE on March 3rd. And then they did release on March 23rd administrative funds, which is good, which means, the state of Wisconsin can start working on planning. But really the next big item here is that July 1, where the full program guidance will come out from DOE for the states. And that actually already got pushed back to July 10th, I think. And so really, these programs are a ways out. Early next year is probably the earliest that either one of these rebate programs would launch. And my educated guess would be probably the the efficiency program would launch before the electrification one would. But all of that's gonna, all the details, everything, all the planning is gonna take place this fall and later this year. So I just kind of wanted to give you guys a quick peek into that. So, all right, switching gears back to the Focus on Energy residential programs. So these are all programs available now through Focus on Energy. Quick summary here of some of the residential programs. I am going to cover most of these in the kind of middle column there. And then just a quick note that we do have income qualified offerings as well. So we offer free products through food banks. I love that effort. And we have some high rebates available for HVAC, installation, air sealing upgrades as well. So let's go ahead and jump in. The online home energy assessment. If you're not sure where to start, this is a great place. So it's absolutely free. It's really easy. Honestly, you could probably do it in 5 minutes, but 10 to 15 to complete it. You're going to get a personalized set of recommendations back based on the characteristics of your home, which is awesome. So quick screen grab there on the right side, and you can kind of filter through different options for you. This is limited to single family duplex and single story townhomes though, so no multi-story multifamily. Another great option, free packs. Everyone loves free stuff, right? This is a pack of energy efficiency products shipped straight to your door. 1 pack per household per year. A couple different packs to choose from, and got the link to the URL or link to the webpage on there for you. And all these things, you can also just go to focusonenergy.com. They're really easy to find. So another one that is really easy to take advantage of, the online marketplace. It's instant discounts. There's often sales and special offers online. So on the right here, we've got our current water saving products sale. So products on there as low as $1. These do run through May 30th, and there's free shipping. So definitely something to check out. Some other current products, we've got their smart thermostats, room air purifiers, advanced power strips, lighting. We do have more products coming soon as well. I think we're looking at probably some weatherization stuff, weather stripping, etc. So, all right. And then moving into more of our, I'd say the first 3 were pretty easy things, right, to take advantage of. The next ones, these aren't difficult, but they do often require a trade ally, someone in our trade ally network to work with, like Kevin Kane and Green Homeowners United. So we've got some rebates for heating and cooling equipment. This is furnaces, boilers, heat pumps, smart thermostats in there as well if they're installed by a trade ally or bought at retail location. We do have higher rebates for income qualified customers, and they do run all the way up to $1,300 for something like a heat pump, cold climate heat pump. So Justin's going to cover a little bit more on heat pumps in his slides shortly. And then just a couple resources there for you as well. Insulation air sealing. So this is the shell, the walls, the attic, the basement, making sure that our home is nice and tight and well insulated. So I was able to list the incentives here. The rebates do stack. Some of them do require an assessment report, as Kevin had mentioned. And we do have some higher rebates for income qualified as well. So again, a couple of resources on that page. Water heaters. So this program is a little bit different. You do have to work with a participating trade ally to access the instant discounts available through Focus on Energy. So I do have the web page there. You can use our Find a Trade Ally tool if you wanted to do a natural gas tankless unit. We do also have a separate list for heat pump water heater trade allies. There's currently 9 on there. That is a separate PDF. It's not integrated into our Find a Trade Ally tool at the moment. We are working on growing that network. But if you ask any plumber on the street to install a heat pump water heater, they're probably going to turn you in a different direction. And so this is something that we're really working on and expanding that list. So we currently have 9. We're going to keep adding more and more to that list across the state every month. So, and then finally, solar energy. We do have a $500 rebate for residential. There is an additional $500 if you happen to live in a rural zip code. So definitely something to check out. The bigger driver on these is the 30% federal tax credit for solar. But Focus does have a whole list of trade allies that you can reference, and a lot of information there, and it's a good resource. So definitely make sure you're checking out the Focus on Energy Trade Ally tool to find a solar installer, to make sure you're getting a reputable dealer and taking advantage of the Focus rebate as well. All right, so a couple of quick takeaways and resources here. So number 1, don't wait. As we said, kind of reiterated a bunch of times, the HERS programs, they're still being defined. And they're very likely, while the efficiency program you may qualify for, if you are moderate to upper income, there's a decent chance those programs aren't really for you and that you wouldn't qualify anyways. So I would not suggest waiting on those. The other part of that is that the tax credits are available now. So if you're in that mid to upper tier, don't wait. The other part of that is our trade allies, they're getting a lot of responses back from customers saying that folks want to wait because they think these programs are out there and they've heard of $8,000 for a heat pump. That's the trade allies are going to go from feast and famine type of thing, where all of a sudden they're going to be swamped in the future. So it might be difficult to find a trade ally if you do decide to wait. And also inflation, right? Costs are rising. Order of operations, what order should you do things in? It's always going to be building shell. You want to tighten up the home first, make sure it's well insulated. Then we can talk about installing high efficiency equipment. So HVAC, heat pumps, water heaters, right? Energy Star appliances, and then finally solar. It's the sexy one, but it's really the one that should be put on last. Third, start with free and easy, right? We talked about the PACs and the online home energy assessment, great place to start. Fourth, find a trade ally to work with. Again, Focus on Energy relies heavily on our trade ally network. A lot of our information flows through them, and we kind of rely on them to market for us in the field. And then finally, check locally. A lot of utilities, our utility partners have additional rebates available. Home Energy Plus is, if you do find yourself in that low to moderate income range, there is energy assistance and their weatherization program. So definitely check them out. And then other community groups, I personally put solar on my roof. I went through Madison here in Madison and Dane County. That's the solar group I programmed down here. I think they work with clean energy credit unions. That's another one that specifically finances clean energy solutions. So just check locally. There's probably more resources than just the federal and state level stuff. And then I just have some other resources listed here for those who want to access the slide deck. So I think I'm slightly over my time. Justin, sorry, I'm going to go ahead and hand it back over to you.
Great, thanks, Dylan. Are folks able to see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So yeah, I'm gonna finish up today talking a little bit more in detail about heat pumps. So as Kevin and Dylan emphasized, really that first step in planning, the energy assessment and all of those weatherization measures are so important to make sure you really are lowering the amount of heating and cooling that your home's going to require. And so that may mean that you may need a smaller heat pump, and it could be a little cheaper, and you're going to just get more of those energy savings and decarbonizing benefits. So I'm going to focus mostly on single family residents in this. So just a quick intro of Slipstream for those who aren't aware of us. We are a mission-driven nonprofit. We're actually headquartered in Madison, Wisconsin. We have about 160 employees across the states, and we do a variety of work in research, education, training, financing solutions, and programs, and work with states, utilities, and communities. And we really are focused on climate and equity really at the core of our mission. So just to sort of tee this up, just wanted to share this slide to really indicate sort of the lifetime and sort of energy consumption of a lot of these major appliances in the home. So the graph on the left really shows that if you look starting from 2020, we're now in 2023 obviously, but there's just not that many opportunities unless you are, replacing your equipment early to switch over and electrify some of this equipment. If you look on the graph on the right, space heating, water heating, air conditioning make up about 2/3 of the energy consumption in the home. So, again, weatherizing and then really selecting high efficient electric equipment is really going to take us, make a major mark on that 75% of your consumption. And something some folks may not know, even charging an electric vehicle for most homes is about the same amount of energy as your water heater. And so, even focusing on that water heater can really make a major impact. So going over to heat pumps, and really I'm going to be focusing on air source heat pumps because of their lower, upfront costs, and they really are a primed application. Slipstream is working with Dylan's team at Focus on Energy, and we are developing a customer buying guide. So I have a link to one that is already published from the Northeast if folks want to reference that in the real near term, but this will be completed at the end of June and will eventually be published on the Focus on Energy website, and you're going to be seeing more marketing and education surrounding this. And so this is a little bit of a preview of just how this guide is organized in terms of, what type of heat pump is right for me. So if you have a new home, there's lots of options of the types of air source heat pumps that might be appropriate. And you obviously have that flexibility in the design stage to really make the right solution for that new home. And in existing homes, probably the application most folks are, and especially contractors are familiar with, are these single head ductless systems that are serving one room. So maybe you have a bonus room that you're adding, or there's a room that's just not getting adequate heating or cooling. And that's a really easy install to just provide zonal heating to that one room in the home. And then if you're looking at whole home, really the key thing you should be thinking about is, do you have central ductwork already, or do you not? And so that will really determine the types of air source heat pumps that might be right for you. And so I'm going to focus a little bit more on homes with existing central ductwork, since that is the majority of single family homes in Wisconsin. But just as an overview, the ductless air source heat pump, this is just an image. Kevin explained it really well. A heat pump is basically an air conditioner that can just work in reverse. It has a reversing valve, so it can just, move heat into the home. Even when it's cold outside, it's able to extract that heat and move it into the home, as well as acting as that traditional air conditioner to move heat out of the home in the summer. And so, focusing on the ducted heat pumps, these two pictures show a couple different configurations. So on the left would be your all electric ducted heat pump. And so you can see there's the blower motor fan at the bottom, and then you have your heat pump indoor unit, and that's sometimes called an 8-coil. It's the same thing as what your air conditioner has, but it's just able to heat as well because it's powered by a heat pump. And then you have typically, and this may not always be needed if you really are well weatherized and you have a cold climate performing heat pump, but you may have some electric resistance backup. So that electric resistance really acts as a booster. It can operate simultaneously with the heat pump. And so you're really able to maximize the use of that heat pump, even as its heating capacity drops at really, really cold temperatures. That electric just gives you that extra boost. On the right is a dual fuel air source heat pump. So really, it looks pretty much, this is the picture of probably, if you have a forced air furnace with an AC, this is what it looks like. But again, you just have a heat pump placed on top of that furnace. And in this configuration, you have to either use the heat pump or you can switch over to the backup furnace, and that's typically done at a certain temperature. So just wanted to show a little bit of how we're communicating, since we do a variety of work with contractors and training and educating them on how should they be thinking about this. And this sort of will help inform, certainly in that guide, there's going to be some questions, and you can find those of, questions to ask your contractor to really make sure they're well versed, because there are a lot of contractors that are not really fully supportive of this technology yet or have the experience. And so that is potentially going to be a process. But contractors typically are going to provide you a bid with a good, better, best option. And they're going to base that off of your existing fuel type and your goals, whether your goals are weighing economics and wanting to make sure you get the best bang for your buck, environmental goals that you may have, and the comfort goals that you may have. And so the three bubbles in the middle here are really showing the three scenarios. So a lot of traditional HVAC replacements are really emergency replacements, right? We don't think about it until it breaks. And so certainly there's some things that can be done in those scenarios in terms of a furnace, making sure that it's equipped to be matched with the heat pump and perform really well. Or in an AC emergency replacement, there are some retrofit ready variable speed heat pumps, which I'll talk about in the next slide, which are a good option. But I think the reason you all are here today, and I think the big message of planning is one in this series, and so planned HVAC replacements really are the ideal scenario. And so for that, you do have that option of the all electric ducted heat pump, a dual fuel heat pump that would be sized for heating, so it can work down to lower temperatures, or you might just go for a simple heat pump that's sized for cooling, so it's a little smaller, but it can offset some of that heating demand and help decarbonize your home as well. So just a little bit more info. Again, this is going to be a little more technical, but not too much. So the three types of dual fuel heat pumps, there's really those traditional single or two speed systems. Those have been around for a while. Again, those are really going to be limited in that you have to size those for cooling. So you won't be able to operate that down below 20 or 30 degrees. And then there's the modern variable speed heat pumps. Again, these are available from all manufacturers. These are going to be a bit more expensive because they have that variable speed capacity that they can really modulate and meet the heating needs, whether it's just a moderate day out at 45 or 50 degrees, or whether you're down at 0 degrees. And these do have the potential for cold climate performance. And by that, we mean that they are capable of extracting enough heat from really cold temperatures, and that they can do so efficiently. So it's really about the ability and the efficiency to perform at really cold temperatures. And then lastly, this sort of emerging application is this retrofit ready variable speed heat pump. So this is an air source heat pump that can be retrofitted onto your existing furnace. So if you are not replacing your furnace, or you have a fairly new furnace still, but you are adding or replacing an AC, these are some model examples here of products that can go onto that existing furnace. And those are going to be a little bit more expensive as well, but a lot of them have potential for cold climate performance. And then in terms of proof of performance, just wanted to share this info from a study in Michigan. It was a field study. These were all market installed systems. All of them were dual fuel air source heat pumps, sized for cooling. You can see in the air source heat pump compressor speeds, some were 1 or 2 stage and some were variable speed. They all reduced propane, significantly, and they all paid back. And you can see the switchover temperature varied on a lot of these. So they did vary from 20 to 30 degrees. The couple that says none just had algorithms that switched it when the heat pump was not able to keep up to the thermostat set point. And one story I just wanted to highlight here, again, is just sort of a bottom case denominator is even these simple heat pumps in Site 8, it was only at an incremental cost of $600. That's probably going to be closer to a $1,500 now with inflation. But that heat pump is the one shown on the picture on the right. And it performed really well, particularly because it had this windshield. This house was located on Lake Michigan, and it was protected from sort of that wind chill from the lake and that effect. And so that's one reason we think that performed quite well. But it just shows that you may not need the fanciest heat pump to really decarbonize. And you can see it reduced the propane by 63%. So Just a couple last points on clean water heating tech. Slipstream did a field study on heat pump water heaters as well. The main point there is they are performing pretty well up to their rating. And you can see on the image on the bottom, there are 3 modes on those traditional heat pump water heaters. So there's a hybrid mode, and a heat pump only mode, and an electric only mode. So heat pump only mode is ideal. That's going to be most efficient, but some homes, if you have a lot of hot water demand or more people in your house, you may want to use that hybrid mode where it relies on some backup electric resistance, which you can see in the picture on the right is shown in those coils. And then just wanted to put a call up that there is this emerging product, a 120 volt plug-in heat pump water heater. So it can plug in to a standard outlet because those other heat pump water heaters plug into 240 volt. And Slipstream is currently working with Focus on Energy and others in the Midwest to identify some study participants in Wisconsin. We're still looking for particularly some homes in the northern part of Wisconsin, maybe near Ashland. So if anyone knows of any candidates, please feel free to reach out. And then lastly, I know we're almost over time here. Just wanted to give a brief overview of this project that Slipstream's been working on with a couple other nonprofits for the State Energy Office as part of their Energy Innovation Grant Program. So we've been working towards developing a playbook for air source heat pump market transformation in Wisconsin by 2030. So heat pumps are the first choice for heating and cooling. And this playbook is intended to give recommended actions to the state, focus on energy, utilities, and also communities. And there's a webinar next Tuesday. So we'll be going into a lot more detail if folks are interested in sort of the highest potential applications from an economics and emissions standpoint. We did a lot of detailed modeling and just sort of, some of the interviews that we did and see how can we all work together, from a state focus on energy, utility, and community perspective to really drive this market forward. And that's what I got. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Justin, and everyone. What a rich conversation. So right now we're going to take a few questions. The first one we have is the home's rebate only available through Focus on Energy? Dylan?
Yes. Yeah. So the Office of Energy Innovation did choose Focus on Energy as the program implementer. But as I had mentioned, they do want these programs ran separately. And so we don't know exactly what that will be called. There is some synergy there in having Focus on Energy utilizing the infrastructure we already have in place in the Trade Alley Network. Will it be through Focus on Energy? That's a bit to be determined. We don't know what it'll be called exactly, but correct. In the state of Wisconsin, Focus on Energy is the program implementer for the homes and HERA rebate programs.
Right. We have someone who says, I live in the northernmost part of Wisconsin near Lake Superior. Will a heat pump be effective in my region? Justin, you want to?
Yeah, I can take that one. It certainly will. I mean, it's going to be, there certainly are colder days. You're not going to get the same efficiency as if you're in the southern part, but according to modeling, there's still a lot of savings to be had, and there's really not that much more, sort of really cold temperatures that would really impact your bill too much overall, since the heat pump savings are really coming a lot from the air conditioning because these are more efficient on the AC. And most of the hours of the year, even in the north, there's still like a majority of hours that are going to be, above 10 or 20 degrees. So yes, and they do perform at those really low temperatures, below zero.
So
Yeah.
Another comment related to that was that her electric co-op doesn't participate in Focus. So that's why she is asking. I want to make clear that the federal funding is available to everyone. And that's why when Focus is going to run the program with the federal money, it will be a separate program from Focus, because Focus is, you're right, only for the utilities that are participating. So you will be able to get the federal money should you choose to go with an air source heat pump for cold climates. But that won't be until 2024.
Thank you for reiterating that point, Shira. Yes,
Sure.
everyone will have access to the federal rebate programs, as well as the tax credits, right? Those are federal tax credits. So,
Right.
and I was just going to add, anecdotally, I've had a heat pump down in my home for the past 2 winters. I'm down in Madison, right? I'm not quite up in Superior, but no issues. I get heat every day, all winter long. So.
And I have a heat pump water heater and you couldn't tell the difference, but it does save money. I do know that. And same reliability. It's terrific. And also if I leave, I can take out my phone and say, put the temperature down for a week. Okay. Another question is, are the multifamily low-income rebates available to nonprofit agencies? Whoops, my screen just, who own, develop, or manage these programs? Kevin?
That is a good question that I think will be rolled out when we hear more from the Department of Energy. Unless Dylan has more to add on that.
Top of the head, I think they should be, because these are rebates, not tax credits, right? So it doesn't really matter if you're a nonprofit or what your tax status is. The intent is the owner of the building where we want them to improve those buildings. So I would guess yes, but Kevin's right. We don't have all the details yet.
Okay. And another question was, is the webinar being recorded? And yes, it's recorded. The slides will be available to you as well. And all the resources that everybody mentioned will be in there. And so you will get an email with a link to a webpage specifically for this program. I also, and Brandon just actually put it in the chat, so you can get to it if you copy that right now or click on it. I want to mention that this is the last, it's the 6th of a 6-part series on federal funding. And so we have had a program on ag, a program on local government, schools, and nonprofits and tribes. We had one on the Justice 40 and equity, one on transportation and businesses, aside from this one. And at the bottom of every page so if you go to the link for this, it will link to all the other programs. So if you missed one of those and you would like to look up any of the resources or hear it or look at the slides, those will be available to you as well. And we hope you'll take advantage of it. We know that these programs aren't fully rolled out yet, but we want you to prepare for them and to know what's going to be available to you, because it's a lot of really good money. And the more we can bring into the state of Wisconsin, the better. It'll clean up our air. It'll make people healthier in their homes and outdoors. And it'll save people money as well. So we hope that you'll take advantage of it. So I want to thank everyone who has helped to sponsor our programs, our co-sponsors. They're all listed. It's a very long list now on the web pages. I want to remind you to please fill out the evaluation, because it really does give us important feedback for our programming. And I want to thank Brandon Hofstede for getting all of the electronic web pages and everything together. So thank you to our speakers. This was wonderful. I appreciate your time. And please do look up the resources and contact. All the speakers are willing to be contacted if you have questions. The same for Extension. If you want to get in touch, we'd be happy to help answer it or to put you in touch with people who can. So thank you so much, and best to you in bringing in funds for your projects and going to clean energy. Bye all.